Hey everybody, this is Kendall, and this is an overview video of Delve in Your Pocket, a solo dungeon crawl that you can play anywhere, and you can easily save your place to resume your delve later on. I want to apologize about my voice. I've got a cold that's trying to take over, but I wanted to get this video up as soon as I could. This game does take some inspiration from a pocket mod dungeon crawler called Dungeon Hero, which is really fun. And the game also uses a Yahtzee roll and two rerolls mechanism. By the way, this game I will link to in my work in progress thread on Board Game Geek. This is part of a contest for solo print and play. So I want to make sure I have all the links in the thread there. And it'll have the most up-to-date print and play files, the most up-to-date rules, instructions on how to fold one of these pocket mods. All of those links will be on that thread. One thing about this game is it is more fun to use physical dice, 5-6-sided dice, but I've got a workaround so that even if you are in the car, you're commuting on a train, or you're on the beach, wherever, there is an option, and I call it the B.A.R.D system. And basically, the B.A.R.D stands for Business Card Alternate for Rolling Dice. So I've drawn a little B.A.R.D on here, but you basically can make one of these with just a regular business card. So I've got my Constant Chaos games, whatever. But any business card, if it's blank, you can draw something, but you just need to make some marks. You can see I've got around the corners, 1 mark here, 2 here, 3 up here, 4 down here, just drawn in haphazardly. And then on the back of the Pocket Mod booklet, it's just a grid of randomized D6 numbers. So you kind of close your eyes and you place it on here, and you can line up where the lines come closest to, and you can roll. So on this side, you've got 5, or on this side, you've got 5. Or, if you're re-rolling, you can re-roll one die, or 2 or 3. So anywhere from 1 to 5 with this system. So anyway, I think I'm not going to say it's funner than dice, but it's a good alternative if you can't get dice into it. Before you start playing, you'll just need to print out a sheet and fold it up. But there's 2 options, and the version right here is called Shadow over Hollowdeep, which has a second pocket mod booklet for narrative. And then this main sheet is already pre-filled out. So it's about a character named Kalen and his missing wolf, Shadowfang. So you can do this version, or you can play an Unbound Hollowdeep, which doesn't have the second narrative booklet, and you can customize your character and your missing animal companion. And there's so basically I've got both printed out just to show you, and I've drawn in, written in stuff so that you can customize it. With either option, the system works the same. So I'll give you a brief overview and then play through a few turns. Your goal is to survive all of the encounters and then defeat the final boss. You're also trying to find your missing animal companion, which, if you do, will help you as far as special powers. So if we open it up, the first spread here has numbered encounters 1 through 10. If you see, before you start your first turn, next to the 1, there's an A that's blue. These blue letters indicate a chance to read from the narrative booklet. So we would open this up and read the introduction about Kalen and what he's looking for, and he's looking for his lost animal, Shadowfang. Uh, and then you'll notice the next blue is at the bottom here. I've written turn numbers on top of these boxes because this is mid play. But these gold boxes here, when these are finished, is actually when you will find Shadowfang. So that is there's a little B in there, basically to cue you to read the next section. And then moving forward, so when you flip the page, you'll have a C here for narrative. And then your final boss is 3 turns. And there's a narrative right before you start playing, and then an E basically at the end of the game that you'll read. So let's talk about what you see here. So this top section here and across here are the dice combos that you can roll, similar to a Yahtzee, like Full House or 3 of a Kind, things like that. You'll see that you have a limited number of each. So 3 boxes for a large straight here versus 4 boxes of a 3 of a Kind. And these, I'll go to a fresh page here so you can see them. The 3 of a Kind, you see there's a 1, 2, 3, and a blank. So 3 of a Kind with ones, once you check that off, you can't do another one like that. And that's the same for these. And then the 4th, you could do, 3 6s or 3 5s or 3 4s. And then once you complete a row, there is a bonus. So you would gain an extra health here. And then each of these has in parentheses how much their hit strength is. So that's the idea behind that. You have this center here where it's the inventory of your potions, your spells, and your health down here. And then you start with 1 potion, 1 spell, but then there's grayed out versions as well as these grayed out hearts. So that if you get these combo bonuses or you trade a certain amount of treasures, you can gain these. So you would circle it to gain the item and then just cross it out to use them. The gold hearts here are Shadowfang. So that becomes part of your health when you find Shadowfang, or if you find him. And then this wheel up here is called the Facet Wheel, and it's for narrative purposes, just to interpret, how your die rolls went, and we'll get into that as I demo the game. So in each encounter, you've got all these boxes. There's plenty of them, so that if you're using the B.A.R.D system, you roll 5 dice. It's hard to keep those in your mind, so you can just write them all down. Choose which dice to cross out to re-roll, and then Yahtzee style, you'll have 3 total rolls for it. The bottom right corner of these boxes, you see it kind of grayed out. It's a little treasure chest icon. And basically, you record a die value as a treasure. Sometimes there will be 2 treasures, but you will use a random roll, or actually if you have a combo that doesn't include certain dice, those will get recorded down here. But yeah, say it's a full house, you're using all 5 dice, and then you just roll a d6 to fill these in. Treasures are basically your currency in the game, and they can be used. You would cross out a treasure in order to gain a potion, which allows you to re-roll as many dice as you want one time. You can cross out 2 treasures to gain a spell, which allows you to basically cross out one of your die rolls and assign it a new number. So just any number. So 2 treasures for that, or 3 treasures for one of these hearts. And The other function of a treasure is, say you roll almost what you need, but you just needed one more value, one more 4 or something. You can look back at your treasure, see if you have that value, and what you would do is cross it out and then write it in. Generally, I'll cross it out here, and then I'll write it in and circle it so I can tell that it's not part of my dice. So in that way, you can actually have more than 5 dice you're applying. You could apply lots of dice using prior treasures to get multiple combos in the same turn if you wanted to. Okay, so you pass encounters whether your combo is high enough or not. So you don't have to beat the encounter. You just have to be able to survive it. So you absorb any damage and you'll gain a treasure as long as you're still surviving. The final encounter is different because you do have to beat the final encounter, and they have these boxes of health that you'll check off. But yeah, just surviving each encounter. The level of encounter is in brackets up here. So if it's one number, it's the 3. But if it's 2 numbers, it's the sum. And these numbers in brackets are also will cause you damage. So they're called doom numbers. And if at the end of your turn you have numbers that are 1s or 4s here, each die will cause you a damage. The difference with the red is if you roll a 4, it cannot be re-rolled. So it's a sealed doom instead of a regular doom. So you can use a potion or a spell to re-roll these, or if you have a special ability or Shadowfang's ability, you can manipulate those, but normally you can't re-roll a 4. And then if the encounter has a golden box, notice the gold has to do with Shadowfang, that's his health. So if you take damage on an encounter with gold, at least 1 damage has to go toward Shadowfang. And then otherwise, you can choose, this one here doesn't have Shadowfang, but you could choose to have him absorb some damage. But, and the Shadowfang will always sacrifice himself for you to survive. So there's not a way for you to die, but Shadowfang to carry on kind of thing. Shadowfang, if you find him, he does have a special ability where whenever a 2 is rolled, you can actually adjust a die by 1 or by plus or minus 1, and that includes wrapping from a 1 to a 6 or vice versa. And you can do that to the 2 as well. So anyway, that is quite powerful and something that you would want to get your animal companion as soon as you can to have access to that power. And then if the animal dies with the yellow boxes, the yellow hearts, you would obviously lose that ability. So your character also gets a special ability, and on the custom version, there's a place you write those on the cover. On this version, it's added as part of the bottom of this panel here, which we'll talk about the Facet Wheel later. But right now, we'll talk about Ranger. He has the ability to have 2 extra combo uses of any type. And then once per game, he can plus or minus 1 for up to 2 dice. So that is handy. And then here's Shadowfang's ability just spelled out again. Okay, so I've gone over the first spread. Basically, the second spread just continues forward for the 11th encounter and then goes down. Same idea, but I've repeated this at the top so that you can transfer the information here and you won't have to keep flipping back and forth to see, oh, wait, have I done that? Have I not done that? So you just transfer that over and you don't have to flip back and forth. And then before the final battle, you'll roll 2 numbers. They have to be different. And the first one will be a sealed doom number that you cannot re-roll. And the second, just a doom number. And those will apply for those last 3 turns. As I mentioned, the final battle is different, where you can't just survive it. You need to defeat the end boss. But it's also different in that you are limited to using 1 treasure, potion, or spell for each of those turns also. So you can't get to the end and just use prior rolls. You can only use 1 per turn here. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so if you win, there's an optional scoring where you count your unused treasure, your unused potions and spells and health, and then basically just count it as a total. And then you can compare it to the ranking that we have in the rule book to see how well you did. This spread here I call the narrative spread, and it has narrative prompts. You basically, randomly, like using a die roll, go from the top or the bottom of these, and you pick the setting, like this one here, the stone altar, and this one here, the necromancer. That's what I've got for this last encounter that I'm currently on. And then once you're done, you would cross that out and move to the next one. This borrows a lot from that dungeon hero mechanism, which I quite like. So that's the setting prompts. Totally just for narrative. You can come up with a reason what these prompts have to do with it. And then the facets help you to determine, based on your die rolls, what happened in the encounter. So say you rolled a 3 of a kind and it was 4s. You could look at the 4s, either this 4 through 5 or 3 through 4. And was it your elven cloak? Was it the longbow that helped you? Maybe it was a quick step dodge. And these icons are meant to kind of give you some idea, but you can also flip to that and read a bit more. You can apply 1 or more of these, but again, it's all just for narrative. So that's the facets wheels. And then you've seen the back panel here where it's just the dice roll. Okay, so let's walk through a few turns. I'll use the B.A.R.D system for a turn. I'll use some physical dice just to show you how that works. But you'll notice I've already filled in the prompts. This you can imagine we're in a large empty chamber in the dungeon. In the center, there's an altar made of stone. And as we move closer, the entrances seal shut and a dark figure emerges from behind the altar, the necromancer. So obviously you can use as much or little as you want here, or even skip the prompts if you chose to. You'll see that this encounter is a level 5. So we may want to try and roll a large straight or a full house because they do a 5 hit here. But with the 1 and the 4 as doom numbers, that could be tricky. So we'll decide. Sometimes it makes sense to go for something higher or something lower, just so you don't take as much damage as you need to. Also note that we have completed all of the gold boxes, so we do have Shadowfang with us and his ability, which will be super helpful. And we took a lot of damage actually getting these. You'll see that I wanted to get on my 5th turn this set that had to have 2 pairs. So 1 pair had to be 2s. The other pair were 3s. And yeah, I took damage because that was the doom number here. And then this turn, the doom number was 2. But I took 2 damage there just trying to get these combos. so that I could find Shadowfang and benefit from his extra health and his ability. So there is some tension there. All right, so as always, we're going to start with rolling all 5 dice and then figure out where we want to go from there. All right, so I'm going to close my eyes and just line this up. Okay, we have a 2, 4, a 1, 3, 3. So I just have to remember that 2, 4, 1, 3, 3. I'll write it in. All right, so we do have a 4, and that's stuck. But we could use Shadowfang's ability of the 2 to change this to a 3. And that could help us. That gives us 3 of a kind. And then we could try to get another 3. And even if we don't, we could use a prior treasure, one of these 3s, and get a 4 of a kind. So we kind of want to save these higher ones for later on. But because we're a ranger, we do get 2 extra. So even though these are limited, we could get an extra one here. So let's do that. Let's use Shadowfang's ability, and we're going to switch that to a 3. And let's re-roll the 1 and the 2. So I'll cross out those 2 dice, and I will use the corner with the 2 marks. I will haphazardly roll a 5 and a 4. Okay, so now we've got a problem because the 4 is a sealed doom. I can't re-roll that. So I could use a potion to re-roll. I could use the spell and just change that 4 to a 3. I could also, I've got 1, 2, 3s in my past treasure. I think I'm going to use my spell. Well, oh, I forgot to mention. Well, that doesn't apply here. But if these were all 4s, if you get 4 of a kind or more, it actually overcomes the doom power. But since I only have 1 4, that doesn't help me. I was thinking 3s were the doom number. Let's re-roll the 5 since we have 1 more. Well, I could roll another 4 or another 1. So I'm not going to re-roll again. I'm going to use a spell. So I'll cross this out. And we're going to change this 4 to a 3. So now we have a 4 of a kind. And we did not use the 5. So we're going to write that down as one of the treasures here. And then we'll randomly roll for another treasure using our 1 mark. We rolled a 1. Okay. All right, so 5 and a 1 are our treasures. And 4 of a kind. What I do to keep track of what I've marked and what I haven't is I will cross out this turn number once I've filled it in and marked off the combo. And I'll cross out this level number or numbers once I've added any damage that is required. So since we're doing a hit of 6, we're not taking any damage. I'm going to cross that out. So no damage to take. And then I'm actually writing the turn number 7 as this 4 of a kind. So you don't have to write the turn number, but I'm extra geeky about that. Okay, so that's how you play. Let's try one more using, oh, sorry. Before we end our turn, that this is also the narrative implementation. So 3s are what we used against the necromancer. So I can look at the 3 here, and you can see the paw. So we've got tracking skills. We've got some of Shadow Fang's uh, uh, loyalty or abilities. We've got our Elven Cloak and a longbow. And I could look back here at our threes and say, maybe we used our Elven Cloak. We were able to do some misdirection to the Necromancer. And he didn't see where we were. We've got Pack Instinct. Maybe it was Shadow Fang that was able to assist us in a critical moment. But basically you can use these as kind of imagine what happened. How did we resolve this encounter? All right, so let's do this one with dice. So we're going to roll 2 dice. First one will be the setting, 5. Second one, 6, will be the conflict. So if I go to this page here, the stone altar, I'm going to cross that out, go 5 down, 2, 3, 4, 5, an abyssal drop. Okay. And then 6, I'm going from top to bottom here, and I'm going from bottom up here. So we'll cross out the Necromancer. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, an enchanted mirror. Okay. So we notice this mirror that's gleaming. We are walking toward it. We didn't realize that we were stepping too close to this abyssal drop. We're at the edge and we're teetering. We're trying to figure out how we can regain our footing, and we'll see what happens. So as always, we'll start with 5 dice. The level is 3 for the encounter, so maybe. So we could actually get 4 3s, even though it's a 3 of a kind. If we get 4, we don't have to use the 4 of a kind. We could choose to use just 3 of the dice, and then we aren't using up these boxes. So that might be nice. Or 3 1s, but we can't do 3 2s because that's already been used. Let's see, we have 5s. So we could use this 3 of a kind, this box. It limits us later on, but maybe let's see how many 1s we can get. And we've got this 2 here. So we'll use Shadow Fang's ability to wrap this once to a 1. We'll save these and we'll use some re-rolls. Oh, nice. Okay, so we did get lucky. We've got 4 of a kind there. We do have a doom number, but it's not red. It's not sealed. So we got 1 more re-roll and a 5. Okay, so we'll write down our 1s and 5s. Now in this case, we're not going to use 1 of the 1s and 1 of the 5s. So we could choose to keep one or the other. We've got 2 1s here, 2 5s. Let's keep a 1. And we are going to use this 3 of a kind, 3 1s. And we take no damage. If we did, Shadow Fang would have to take one of them. So we are done with that turn. And we can look at the 1s and say, yeah, I think. So Shadow Fang has his ability here. He was able to help us to roll one of the 1s. So I think maybe Shadow Fang was a big part of this. This is a symbol for like disarming a trap. So let's see. Yeah, we have 1 to 2 here. Feral lunge, leap and bite. So that doesn't fit as well. Maybe he leaps and bites our clothing to like pull us back. That could work. And then maybe we also used our grit to resist the fear of the situation. And we could have also used some resolve to push forward. So anyway, that's you can tell I'm done with this turn because I've marked out these and I've marked the treasure. This would be a great place to pause, and then I can pick this up later on. And as long as you know where you've left off, everything's marked and kept for you. I wanted to just briefly talk about the differences between the narrative version. Obviously, it has the separate booklet that has a narrative, but there's a few other things. You get to draw your characters. You can pick from the rule book, has some examples of abilities that you can mix and match. You can see I've got Whisper the Owl here. You can have custom names, custom abilities, and it's on the cover versus here it's down on this area. But those are some of the abilities, differences, and then you can draw your own icons here. I've got a poison blade and insight and a few things. There's a list of these in the rule book that you can fill out. Rapid slice, backstab. This is a rogue character, so the owl has a different ability. Instead of a 2 adjusting a die by 1, you can when you roll a 2 during an encounter, it grants 1 protection against during that turn for a doom number. So those don't carry over to the next turn, but basically the owl has this magic to him. So yeah, you have this, and then you'll notice the final encounter here is filled out. You have a broken throne and you have the king of Hollowdeep. Whereas in the Unbound version, it's blank. So when you are making your way, you've got your settings and your conflicts, and then in the middle, you can roll a d6 to figure out what the setting is and whether you are facing the Lich King or a Demonite Rift Beast or a Fallen Traitor Hero. So those are randomized. Again, all the links to the latest files, rules, etc. will be in the pinned first post of the work in progress thread. So I'll have that thread link in the description. If you appreciate games like this, I design games with minimal components, so consider subscribing. And a like on this video will help more people that are interested in this type of content to be able to find it. So thanks for checking out this game. I would love feedback and questions either here on YouTube or as a post in the Board Game Geek thread. Until next time, thanks.